stop myself for a while.
Well, that was a slightly different intro, wasn't it? Hope you all enjoyed the new music there for this particular show. Our usual theme tune will come back next week. It's great to see everybody. Hi to everybody in the chat. We did, for some reason, have YouTube tell us that we'd lost connection during the intro there for about a second and a half. So the colour is starting to come back to my face. As I as I nearly fainted. Just a very quick hi to everybody in the chat. Simon Hawkins, good to see you. Peter Campbell, Stephen Flyby Guys, who of course is now home in Finland and back from the heat of Dubai. Elsa Meghead, Andy, hi, good to see you. Michael Flyzone, good to see you as well. Shippers Dronefield. So many good people in this evening. Drone Shots, hi, good to see you. KH Drones, I saw in there as well. Ian, hi, good to see you as well. So yeah, a great crowd in today. There's our first technical glitch happening there. You can see we've changed things about a little bit. This is going to be the new live studio for this particular show, the Drone and Tech News Live. We've got a few new things, such as the new chat here you can see, which I think should be slightly clearer and easier to read on mobiles and that type of thing. And we have a new cool little system here for delivering videos and stories, which we'll go into more later. So today, as I was saying, today is the first episode of our newest live stream shows, which is going to be called Drone and Tech News Live. Now, it's a bit of a test format today, so hence with a little video coming up by itself as well. Just cough there a little bit. I'm sure we'll have a few tech issues along the way, but this is going to be a new format of show. I've always really wanted to bring a show type together which can bring multiple stories in one show, so much like a standard news broadcast, I suppose. And it's been something I wanted to do for a long time now, but it takes a bit of organisation. It's a different camera angle, that type of thing, so that it's a little bit closer to the camera, a little bit more engaging than my normal one where I have 2 or 3 guests and that type of thing. This show will usually run weekly on a Monday, I've had a very busy week reorganising tech and doing a few things in the channel, so I thought I would do it tonight in our usual Thursday slot to give you a sneak preview. But normally this will run every Monday evening, and that is as well as still running our normal show on a Thursday evening, which will obviously be those special focus streams on things like the drone rule streams we've been doing, as well as special guests and that type of thing. We do have one other monthly live show which is launching very soon, which keep an eye out on the channel for that, because we'll be launching a trailer and giving people an update on that extremely soon. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some of the drone and tech stories which have caught our eye, and that will very much be in the future episodes will be the same thing. It won't necessarily be every drone story, every tech story, that type of thing, but things which have caught my eye and the eye of our members and viewers, etc., people sending us stories in. Tonight's stories will include looking at the UK government swarm drone technology, a look at that particular helicopter versus drone incident in Chile, because we have been doing a little bit of digging there to find out as much as we possibly can. We'll be asking where the DJI FPV drone is, and much more. Now, as usual with Geeksvana live shows, we obviously am going to look forward to interacting with you guys in the live chat. So please let me know what you think of these stories as we're working our way through. It'll be good to know. And if you're watching this on the replay, let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the stories covered. I still enjoy reading every single comment that people make. So moving on to the first story, we have a story which we actually first covered in 2019. The UK government has several forms of funding in place to support the development of swarm drone technology. Now, the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory's Many Drones Make Light Work competition has culminated in a recent exercise led by an industry team including Blue Bear Systems Research, Airbus and Durham University. The test was to evaluate concepts for the technical feasibility and military utility of a swarm of up to 20 small UAVs operating together. Throughout the 2-week trials, more than 220 sorties were undertaken, consisting of 5 different types and sizes of fixed-wing drones, with different operational capabilities, together with 6 different payload types, which is very interesting. Now, the test was conducted at an RAF base in Cumbria, and let's have a little look at the video which has been released about this one.
To get to a swarm of 20 drones, delivering this multiple types of effect. We weren't sure how we were going to achieve that, whether it was even possible.
The whole project started in July 2016 and it was launched under the Defence and Security Accelerator programme as a competition called Many Drones Make Light Work. So the overall concept uses small unmanned aircraft systems of various sizes and various types of payload to work together collaboratively as a team.
What we've delivered on this trial today is a heterogeneous swarm of 20 UAVs with 7 types of payload, all controlled by a single operator. So that is really pushing the boundaries.
There will be novel and emerging threat systems which need equally novel technologies to counter them. And that really the key thing is having many vehicles networked together.
Each UAV has a unique capability. When you combine that capability within a swarm, you end up with the sum of the parts is greater than the individual capability. I think the 4 years of work on this trial has been a collaboration and a bringing together of minds from across industry. The technology is accessible by all, so we have to stay one step ahead of all of our adversaries and ensure that we are delivering next generation technology today.
It would help if I turned my sound back on, wouldn't it? So we have our first sound glitch of the evening, which is good. Now I actually feel at home, frankly. So we can actually start the stream proper now. So next up is this is a story which has set Facebook alight with debate and discussion. A helicopter from the Armada de Chile, or the Chile Navy, allegedly came into contact with a drone which itself appears to be a DJI Mavic Air 2. Now the narrative of the story suggests that a Bell UH-57 Jet Ranger 3 of the Chilean Navy hit a small drone, and the result in a shattered windscreen and injuries to an occupant who was not the pilot. Now, there are a couple of things to unbox here. Firstly, many on social media are questioning whether these pictures and the incident itself is fake or misreported. This speculation surrounds whether or not something like a small drone like an Air 2 could penetrate the windscreen of a helicopter or even reach the windscreen through its prop wash. In terms of whether it's physically possible, there are many bird strike incidents recorded which show similar types of damage, and the mass of a Mavic Air 2 would certainly be able to shatter the plexiglass windscreen of this type. Depending on the speed and angle of the two aircraft, there are many positions where the two aircraft can be at which would result in this damage happening, certainly. This is the main factor when looking at the prop wash as well. The aircraft coming together at speed would effectively turn the drone into a rock being held at the windscreen. So the argument that the drone would not make it through the prop wash simply doesn't hold up, in my opinion. So it's certainly more than physically possible. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean this certainly happened. In terms of whether or not someone would look to fake the incident completely, I'm not sure why they would want to do that. Of course, there's always the thought process that people don't like drones and that type of thing, but I'm not sure someone would go to this much effort. We've reached out to journalists on the ground in Chile, including those that did actually cover this story directly, and we can confirm the story details seem to stand up to their scrutiny at least. The flight took place on a Saturday afternoon in Santo Domingo. The Chilean Navy helicopter was patrolling the coastline when the incident occurred. The plexiglass windscreen shattered and the drone and glass caused injuries to the mechanic sat alongside the pilot. Now, the injured person was treated at a local public hospital before being transferred to a naval hospital. He's reported to be in good health, as you would expect. So in terms of my own independent verification of the story, it does seem to hold up. Let's just have another quick look at those stories, the photos. both in terms of physical possibility and the actual instant reports on the ground. One thing which is lacking from the story is any kind of blame or condemnation of either helipilot or the drone flyer, just because these things have come into contact. No one is necessarily saying it is one party's fault or the other. No one over there is saying, oh, curse these drones, etc. Because remember, coastline flights, including patrols by military aircraft, can be conducted at any height required to complete the mission at hand, and it's more than possible that both aircraft were actually being flown legally, although there were no indications of who owned the drone, etc. when they did look into that. So it's a developing story. We'll have to come back to you all on that one as and when we hear any more. Up next, we've got drones being used for good, most certainly. The Monterey County Sheriff's Office has recently posted a video to their Facebook page showing a great use for drones. Let me pull this one up. Now, a highway was recently closed in California due to debris flow washing a section of the road away. The section of road, which is known locally as Rat Creek, left a pretty dramatic scene, which the Sheriff's Office captured via drone to assess the damage. There was additional road closures, meaning in this part of California, meaning that people were actually, for a time, unable to travel through Big Sur into South California. Route diversions were put into place, and interestingly, the location had no cell service either. So they were very much trying to publicise the fact, look, don't even go near this location because it's going to cause you significant travel issues, and you're not necessarily even going to be able to look up Google Maps and that type of thing because of the cell service issues. So it's a really interesting video, this one, and you can see where the prop wash has moved it away. Where the debris has literally shifted it away, and you can see the sheer amount of flow that's come through there, which is absolutely incredible. But yes, certainly a very good drone story for anybody that's interested as well. Actually, today. I'm not on the vodka, etc. this evening. It's good old cups of coffee today. So, yes, trying to have a sober stream for once, perhaps. Who knows? Okay, up next, we're going to be talking about the DJI FPV drone. Now, this has been another one of the DJI upcoming products, which has been leaked several times before its actual release. There's been obviously lots of pictures and video clips, and I'm sure we've all seen this one, which is playing here on the screen here. Now, we did have reliable information to suggest that we would see a launch on the 20th of January. Obviously, most of us know that has now been put back. However, at least one beta tester has since confirmed that they've been told that the launch was set back due to some technical issues rather than anything else. Whether this is in response in some way connected with the DJI being placed on the entity list is obviously unclear. I mean, who knows, that type of thing. However, we have been treated to the short, blurry clip of the drone, and I'm just going to turn the sound on for this one and zoom in so you can hear the startup sequence. It's an interesting noise, that, isn't it? I've heard some people calling it the transformer drone. You can see the usual little wiggle of the props, which actually seems a little bit more aggressive than normal, and of course the gimbal moving up and down to show that it's alive, and then the sensors playing out that song. You can see actually the way that the whole drone actually sits on the desk is quite interesting, and we've got the usual sort of lights coming on as the drone boots up as well, which again is something which we're obviously fairly used to with both DJI drones and this particular drone as well. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I wouldn't mind knowing, actually, anybody in the chat, if you pop a 1 in the chat if you're thinking seriously of buying the DJI FPV drone, and a 2 if you're definitely not interested. I'd be interested to see where people sit on this one at the moment, actually. So yeah, so it is interesting, as I say, and the gimbal settings itself, the usual lights, etc., is all going to be very familiar to DJI fans. I suppose that's part of the brand, really, isn't it? That they're looking to bring this into the family and to continue that recognisable feeling of owning that. Now, we will of course keep you fully updated with any leaks and anything in terms of firm releases. We do have information on releases and some other information about the drone itself, but I'm still fact-checking and verifying that information, so we'll have to come back to you on that one to see what happens. Okay, so now is a story which combines a couple of my personal favourite subjects, a couple of my own little hobbies, as it were, drones in space. The Perseverance rover is heading towards Mars as we speak and is due to land on February the 18th. Now, this is an exciting part of the mission is the inclusion of a drone, the Mars helicopter Ingenuity. This is going to be a proof of concept mission to test how a rotor aircraft will perform, as well as how technology could be used to scout for targets of interest on the Mars surface for the rover to investigate. Let's have a look at this video. And there we go. Pretty cool, isn't it? So that's a CGI, obviously, of how the Perseverance rover itself will land, and the helicopter Ingenuity is obviously on board. One of the first missions that they're going to have, which is just purely to test. I mean, they've obviously got all the theory of how props, etc., will work on Mars, but one of the first missions is actually for Ingenuity to take off and for both units to take a photograph of each other. So I suppose it will be the first ever Mars selfies once we actually get any kind of confirmation of the photographs, which will be very exciting. Now, one other thing to say is that 1 week before the landing on February the 11th, which is next Thursday, Geeksvana will be joined for a special live show by Dr. Pascal Lee. Pascal is the co-founder of the Mars Institute. He's a director of the NASA Horton Mars project and a senior planetary science at SETING. Pascal's going to be chatting with us about his work to take drones on the first manned missions to Mars, as well as looking at the concepts being worked on. It's going to be a great show. I'm really looking forward to it. As I say, it's two of my interests coming together with drones and space, and we look forward to welcoming Pascal back to Geeksvana. After the show, there will be links in the description to our previous interview with Pascal and, in fact, his last live appearance on Geeksvana as well. So, as I say, the show will be on the 11th of February and will be at 10 p.m. UK, which is 5 p.m. Eastern. So I'm really looking forward to that one. It should be an awful lot of fun. I noticed in the chat there was quite a mix of people saying whether they would or wouldn't be looking or interested in the FPV drone. I have to say it's something that I'm on the fence about personally. I think it's a really interesting drone, but I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I want to start putting goggles on to fly a drone, because I very much am a camera flyer. Let's see what a few of you are saying in the chat as well. Johnny Mac 26 heard Mars is rubbish, no atmosphere, you knew it was coming. Yes, thank you, Johnny, I really appreciate that. Lindsay Hayes, bet it wouldn't work on the moon. How fast must the rotor spin? Indeed, in actual fact, what's interesting is the different technologies for drone types which are being developed in the different atmospheres in the universe now, the universal drones, is very different, because of course on the moon it has to be jet powered, and on Mars you can use a propeller flight, which this Ingenuity helicopter has. It's a single prop with the two blades. speeds. But in actual fact, the higher you go within Mars, so once you start getting up and into the foothills of the mountains, etc., again, the props won't be effective. So you're going to have to switch back to some kind of jet propulsion there. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And yes, Family Guyver, Project Dragonfly as well. Yes, the future mission to Titan. We had a video on that last year. We've actually got a video on that coming up. It might be released this week, but possibly the week after. Certainly in and around when Perseverance is going to get be touching down, because yes, going to Titan, which is one of the moons, is going to be very, very exciting to see what happens there. Lindsay Hayes, if it goes kaboom, will Elon Musk declare it an outstanding success? I expect so, yes. I would say so. 507RC, as a current FPV drone operator, I don't think the DJI FPV drone is for people like me. I assume the target audience is existing camera drone operators who want different shots. And that's an interesting one. Thank you 507RC. I'll get your name right eventually. I would agree with you. I think I've always thought that the DJI FPV drone has looked like something which is going to be for the camera drone guys, perhaps for us to capture cinematic footage and that type of thing. I'm just going to be interested to see in the first reviews, etc., the people that are in the early testers, how it works in terms of having the goggles on, etc. is a very different ecosystem for me, and just how acro the free flight mode is, because I know there's a button which switches it between free flight and stabilize. So I'm going to be very interesting to see how that actually works. And yeah, as Elsmeged's saying, he is agreeing with 507 there as well. Isn't it funny, because 507 is the zeros a word, for some reason my little brain isn't wanting me to do that. So and Johnny Mac 26 says he hopes a Martian doesn't hit it with a mallet. Well, it will certainly answer some of the questions, won't it? But I'd recommend anyone that's interested in both drones and space, or either or, to join us next week, because that'll be an absolutely fascinating live stream with Dr. Pascal Lee. So many of you will be very aware of the next story, and it is, of course, the infamous AirMap tweets. So UTM is something which is probably going to cause more headlines, in my opinion, and potential issues for the drone hobby than any other area of regulation. And it seems that AirMap are happy to express their opinion on which direction it should take, or could take. As you can see here, the message is delivered over 2 tweets. Let's bring these up. Drone technology offers economic benefits. Governments can create new revenue streams that support UTM services like taxation and takeoff and landing fees. They can also design incentive programs that encourage UAS and AAM businesses to locate in their communities. So that's the first tweet there, which is already pretty harsh reading, frankly. It continues, with a UTM system, state, local and tribal authorities can gain visibility into nearby drone operations and publish airspace restrictions and notices to drone operators. These rules will be tiered according to levels of authority within the URM system. So yeah, some controversial views there, and despite a strong backlash from many sides of the hobby and in fact the drone industry itself, it did take AirMap a surprising amount of time to take the tweets down, in my opinion. Now, UTM is an interesting and highly divisive subject, which Geeksvana will be bringing you a video series on very soon. We're going to be looking at everything from the European take on it all the way through to how the work NASA is carrying out on it as well. So it is something which is coming. It is something which is going to happen. So I think it'll be very interesting and worthwhile us digging into it to find out how it will impact things and which different directions it could possibly go. Now, of course, the reaction of many in the hobby has been to remove the AirMap app from their devices in protest of the comments. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how that goes. As Simon's RC was saying, AirMap deleted those tweets, which they did indeed. I was surprised how long it took them, actually. I suppose, some respect to them for that, I suppose. Okay, moving on to some tech news this time, and gamers in the Geeksvana audience will remember the great fanfare that accompanied the launch of the Google Stadia service. Now, this was a concept which promised to revolutionize gaming by letting users stream their games without the need to own a PC or gaming console. So, as the little video is showing, you could do this via, on your mobile phone, your internet-ready TV, that type of thing. So you'd be able to pretty much save your game and continue wherever you were. So you won't have to buy the next Xbox or the next, PlayStation and that type of thing. So this did have some promise. And you certainly have to congratulate any company, in my opinion, who looks to innovate in this way. But this week, Google have unfortunately announced that due to a major change in direction, it will effectively be shuttering the internal studio to Stadia, which is generating the exclusive game content, etc., for the service. Instead, the company plans to begin to offer the tech to publishers, opening up the possibility for Stadia to become the streaming tech for other video game companies. It's an interesting one. Google initially offered this Stadia in a $130 Founders Edition bundle, which came with a custom controller, a Chromecast Ultra, and 3-month subscription to the Stadia Pro service, the higher tier. Now, the £10 a month service will still continue, but it remains unclear about any exclusives which were already in the works. Now, it's an interesting direction to take, and I could personally actually see this becoming another Google success, ironically, even though, of course, they're announcing that they're shuttering one of their businesses, because I think that the system could actually work quite well as a publisher access streaming service. And testing of the games streaming on the service showed that most games run really well on a surprisingly wide range of devices. So I personally would keep your eye out for your next favourite game being used on this tech, because it is reliable and it would allow developers, publishers to be able to offer their games out to a wider audience. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for me. Personally, I'm a gamer, as you can see from my controllers up on the wall, etc. And I've enjoyed gaming since the very early consoles. I'm an old man. Okay, taking a very brief break from the news stories. I just wanted to let you know that our most recent merch has been launched, which you can now very proudly show your Geeksvana t-shirt with a range of different things on the back, including CAA Damares registered operator, the A2 CFC registered certified operator, and of course, we don't want to leave out our American friends, the FAA Part 107 certified drone pilot as well. So you can get that at geeksvana.com/merch. We handle all of our merch ourselves, so we actually source them locally. So it isn't one of these sort of large companies with the up and down on the quality side of things. Those shirts are only available in limited numbers, so have a look at geeksvana.com/merch. If you'd like to, that is, of course. Let's say hello to a couple of people in the chat before we move on to the next one. Tailspin RC, good to see you. Chris Hope, hi, hope you're well, sir. Let me know in the chat how you're feeling, please. Welsh Rob, good to see you. Welsh Rob, are you home? Are you back out the hospital? Hope you're feeling well as well. Yeah, and Simon Hawkins, good to see you as well, sir. Hope you're well. So, okay, next up, the UK is taking a step towards evolving the future of urban air mobility. And this is with the approval of a pop-up urban airport, which showcases so-called flying cars and drones in the Coventry area. The government will also be directly supporting programmes which will tackle road congestion and pollution. So essentially the UK government will actually fund the projects within this pop-up airport, which are going to be helping things like pollution and tackling congestion, etc., which could be a good idea. Let's have a little listen to their video on this.
Of our urban airport is that we think it could be transformational in the same way as mobile phones transformed huge continents like India and parts of Africa, where costly, complicated and difficult fixed landline infrastructure didn't need to be put in place. So because of the technologies in mobile phones, that leapfrog effect has already happened for mobile phones. And so we think in parts of the world where infrastructure is lacking, in parts of the world where populations are significantly growing, like in Africa, we can immediately spread social equity by deploying an urban airport very rapidly to areas which are disconnected and have very difficult connectivity to the rest of the world. It's called the urban airport because we didn't really like the term vertiport, and we didn't really understand what it meant. With all the different types of vehicles, we thought actually the infrastructure is actually a mini airport, and we design airports. Arup have designed over 100 airports in their 60-year history, and so we thought, it is an airport. People have to board, people have to deboard, you have to process passengers, you have to land aircraft, you have to maintain them, you have to charge them. So we thought actually the urban airport will be a better kind of term, and that's kind of what it is. It's the world's smallest airport. We've worked on the world's largest, and it integrates a very generous takeoff and landing platform, which is 14 meters diameter, which is bigger than a helipad. So that means it can accommodate a helicopter, it can accommodate multiple different types of eVTOL, and also it can act as a drone port. And the idea with it is that it's designed to have the approach of a helicopter. It has an elevated platform which, once you've landed on it, it can move down to the ground level. So it's avoided all the obstacles on rooftops and in cities. And then the platform moves down to the grade level, where the vehicle can then be pushed to one of the stands in the periphery of the urban airport for charging, for refueling, cleaning, for passengers. So you have an integrated hangar, you have integrated maintenance, you have integrated staff training, passenger processing, and maybe even a bookshop and cafe.
Well, there you go. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? Now, the project has received a £1.2 million government grant, which has been matched by Hyundai, and it's scheduled to open as part of the celebrations marking Coventry as the UK City of Culture. Now, the idea is to demonstrate, obviously, how essentially it's a proof of concept type of project in real terms, and it's also going to see how it will integrate with infrastructure that can be installed at multiple points around a city. Although it's an innovative test bed, there will be no passenger flights or passenger tests, certainly with the approvals that they've got so far. What do we think in the chat about this one? Legwork Bill, hi sir, good to see you. The urban drone hub will never happen. It will just become another HS2 like white elephant. And I know what you mean there, Bill. It feels like this obviously is linked to the whole City of Culture thing, and I wonder if it's independently would have got funding necessarily at this stage for it. It is, in comparison to other urban air mobility projects, it is fairly small fry in terms of the numbers and the investment that's going in there. So it would be interesting to see if any kind of proof of concept does come out of the other side. Tailspin RC says, here we go, keeping the skies clear for pizza delivery and Amazon, get rid of hobby flyers. Yeah, indeed, it gives you that kind of feeling, doesn't it? Certainly. BMAC, good to see you, sir. BMAC Aerial Visuals. No, back to practice shooting skeet with prizes. And Stephen, my co-host on one of our other live shows from the Flyby guys. So being sent to Coventry won't be so bad now. Very good. That's excellent. And El Smeghead, Andy, Coventry, culture. I'm from Birmingham, so I can say that. Very good. And Bill also says, okay, so the port has backing, but there are actually going to be any air certified people carrying drones. Exactly. As I was just saying, no, there will not be. Simon Hawkins, I can see it happening in countries without infrastructure, but in the UK, only really going to be a niche thing. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like when you look at drone deliveries, in the mass scale of things, you think actually urban areas, cities, perhaps even more modern cities, and not, I don't want to say cities of the future, but certainly cities of the future, can have these things built into them so that you can have facilities to be able to deliver things safely and easily. Whether or not you could see these kind of little hubs springing up everywhere across the UK is, I don't know. I can't necessarily see it personally. So I do agree with that. I do think a lot of these projects are things that we're going to see evolve, and I think where we'll actually end up with a lot of these things will be very, very different to where we are now, frankly. Just personal opinion there. And Simon Hawkins also says drone deliveries only really make sense to a drop-off point with then last mile by road. I agree with that as well, actually. I think that you could see some of the larger cargo drones being able to get around congestion and that type of thing with that kind of issue. Colin Simon, hi, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. What about noise from aircraft landing and takeoff? Not very urban friendly. Yeah, and that's interesting actually, because the Alphabet Google trials that were run in Canberra in Australia, they actually ended early due to complaints about noise, and the level of complaints and the type of validity given to those complaints wasn't actually expected. So that's an interesting one, certainly. And Brant Aerials, Gary, good to see you. That concept wouldn't be well suited to cities with high-rise buildings. Exactly, and also you have to look at, countries like the UK. We have very old houses, an old road system, woods, etc. I've got several trees on my property, around my property here. It's a 3-storey building which is several hundred years old, and to be able to suddenly take a drone delivery here with a road here and a road there and a wood just over the road is absolutely impossible in my opinion. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that goes. And I think we all know that the concepts we keep seeing and the different types of things that could happen with these drone deliveries and urban air mobility systems are probably quite far from where we're actually going to get to. So those are the stories that I'd chosen for this first episode of the format. There's going to be a few small changes for episode 2, which will be on Monday, including some of the feedback provided by our channel members. At Geeksvana, we show our channel members behind the scenes of the channel and how we evolve our content. So we've actually been, I've been putting the channel members through watching the new introduction and then a test stream yesterday to show how things are. And I've got some really good feedback, so thank you guys for that. I'm going to be making some changes to episode 2, which will be on Monday. These streams will be a lot shorter than our normal live streams, which tend to run anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. And next Thursday, if you remember to join us for the special show regarding the Perseverance landing on Mars, which will be from 10 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Eastern with Dr. Pascal Lee. Okay, well, that's everything for this evening. As I say, we want to keep these particular reports relatively short and sweet. I mean, I think, was it been about 40 minutes? 40 minutes is about exactly where I think this should be. So join us on Monday for episode 2 of the Drone and Tech News. And we have a new video on UK drone rules coming out tomorrow, actually. So keep an eye out for that one. See you all soon, guys.
I wait for someone to save. I wanna tell you something new. You drove us both into a wall. I drive away into the night and I contemplate for a while. Don't you think it's funny before the test? We fight back, lost, don't believe sooner than this. Don't you begin. Then I stop myself for a while.